All right, we are live, and it looks like we've got our attendees coming in here. I'm Doug Jenkins with the Findlay-Hancock County Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to our first ever virtual small business workshop. Everything is pretty much virtual at this point, but this actually, and we'll talk to Jordan and Kevin about this here in a moment, this was always intended to be a virtual workshop even before COVID-19 started. One of the things that we've been wanting to do at the Chamber is find different ways to take programming to you when you're at home, rather than when you are, having to make you come to all of our different events. We'd like to have a good mix of those, obviously. And then the coronavirus sort of forced our hand, and we've had to move everything here. But we do appreciate Jordan and Kevin from RCR volunteering to be they thought they were going to be the guinea pigs for our first webinar, and now we've done a few of them. So anticipate this going pretty well today. Just a couple of housekeeping measures before I turn it over to Jordan and Kevin. One of the things that you're going to want to do, if you have questions, feel free to use the chat box down in the bottom screen. We also have a Q&A box. I'll be monitoring those and running the webinar as well, or running the PowerPoint here, which will get loaded up in just a moment. Once we have that going, you can send messages that way, and we'll have questions and answers at the end. So if we don't get to your question right away, stick around. We'll get through as many of them as we can there at the end. Of course, this being a webinar format, we don't have to worry about mute or screen share or anything like that. We can, if you have a question, I can bring you up on that later in video form, or we can just go ahead and ask it. But we do appreciate you joining us this morning, and look forward to hearing a lot more about what Jordan and Kevin have to say. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jordan, and I'll go ahead and get your PowerPoint loaded.
Excellent. Well, as Doug said, my name is Jordan Stock. I'm the Vice President here at RCR Technology Group. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is a topic that we feel is going to be extremely beneficial and important to you moving forward. For those of you that need a little bit of just a brief overview of who we are and what we do. We specialize here in managed IT services here in Findlay, predominantly, and the surrounding areas. We've been in business going on 10 years and have been very fortunate to provide IT service for this community and a number of locally owned businesses. And with that, we get into all these businesses here locally, and we're able to assess and look at how these businesses are using their technology that's already at their fingertips. And we feel as a company that one of the most underutilized bits of technology at people's fingertips that they're already paying for are these Microsoft products. That's why when Doug came to me and asked me what topic we think that would be best, this is why I chose this one. It was no question. The list of functions for these Microsoft apps have changed quite a bit over the years. Some apps and functions have improved, and some apps have been discontinued, and some apps have came back on for this subscription-based service. But there's a large list of what you can purchase with these apps, and we're going to take some time today to really talk about specific apps and their specific functions, and that way we can best utilize, like I said, best utilize this technology that is already at our fingertips, that we're already spending our money on, and improve the effective process in your day-to-day business. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my brother and the president of RCR Technology Group, Kevin Stock, who's been really tracking these Microsoft apps for many years, even before he started this company 10 years ago. So with that, take it away, Kevin.
All right, thanks, Jordan, and thanks, Doug, and the Chamber. So yeah, Jordan said it best, and basically today what we're trying to do is, if you are interested in Office 365, you sign up. There's a gigantic list of things that you can take advantage of. We want to whittle it down, make it a little bit easier and palatable for you to be able to understand certain things. So we're ready for the next slide, Doug. Let's jump right into it, guys. These are let's talk about pricing. Let's talk about what the packages are. So first thing that I want to bring up is since I've been putting this PowerPoint together, Microsoft has changed the name of Office 365 to Microsoft 365. This has happened in the last few weeks. The name changes for most applications and most options for 365. Um, the Here you can see the new name as well as the old name and the packages shown. There are more packages than this in 365, but today we're going to talk about the three main plans that we at RCR typically fit our clients into. You can see the pricing ranges from $5 per user per month to $20 per user per month. The differences in these packages is further explained on the next slide. So what we have are a lot of checkboxes on this screen, so feel free to browse and see what's listed here. The main differences here are whether or not these packages come with the desktop versions of the apps. And that means simply that you can open Word, Excel, Outlook without being connected to the internet. This is the method that we're most familiar with since the 90s. You know, you bought Word 97, Word 2003, 2007, 2010. You're used to just going out to the store, buying a disk, buying a license. You have Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all of those different things, and that's what you had. And around 8 years ago, Microsoft really started pushing 365 and adding all of these functions and these apps that are internet based and cloud based. And as you go through these check marks, you can also see some of the other differences is additional functionality, especially in email. The ability to send encrypted messages for businesses that need more of a security focus in regard to HIPAA and PCI compliance. There are deeper explanations to this that can be addressed on an individual basis, but overall, this is sort of the blanket statement. This is the main stuff for a small business. So moving on, what do you get with Microsoft 365 now that it's called Microsoft 365? Here you can see the main apps that come with Microsoft 365. Many of these apps are the ones that you're likely familiar with. You know, you see Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Maybe you're familiar with OneDrive already. Skype is on here. Regardless of having the desktop versions of these apps, you still have access to these apps with any Office 365 subscription or Microsoft 365 subscription, even that $5 a month package. Today we're going to focus on specific ones and their functions to give you some tips on how to actually use these applications to your benefit. The ones that we're going to focus on are Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, Outlook, and Microsoft To-Do, which is a very new one. So let's start with Teams. Teams is relatively new in the 365 offerings. Shortly after announcing Teams, Microsoft announced that it was going to replace Skype, but that change has been put on ice and Skype is still available right now. RCR has been using Teams basically since the day it came out, and it's been a game changer in regard to how we communicate as a team. We're going to go a little bit deeper into this. So you can see the basic functions of Teams are chat, video, audio conferencing, screen sharing, which is really great, especially if you want to screen share with a team member. Hey, take a look at what I'm looking at. This is how it looks to me. Do you want to take control of my computer to be able to, hey, what do you click here? And hey, what am I doing wrong with this Excel formula? This is something you can screen share and, you can either control it or the person that you're sharing with can control it. A lot of options with that as well. You can schedule meetings with Teams. So when you do a regular calendar invitation through your email, you can just hit the Teams button and say, hey, this meeting that we're going to have, we're not going to have it in the conference room. We're not going to have it in my office. We're just going to have, it's going to be a Teams meeting. That brings up an invitation for both or for all the parties to be able to click and join the conference all at once. File sharing. This is file sharing within the app. So if a particular group or a particular meeting needs to go over a list of different documents for that meeting, they can be literally uploaded to that meeting specifically, so that those things can be reviewed. Real-time collaboration. We're going to see this a bit more through the apps that we talk about today. Real-time collaboration simply means that multiple people can be in a Word document, an Excel document, a PowerPoint. You see that these users are in there, and you can see them making changes to the document live, each user and what they're changing. And then mobile and desktop versions, which we're also going to see a lot repeated throughout this. We're focusing today on the chat and video and audio conferencing portion of Teams. This is something that our team and many of our clients use every day. So, Teams chat. The left screenshot shows the ability to chat with an entire group or team, while the right screenshot shows the ability to chat with individuals within your organization. If another organization uses Teams, you can chat with them as well, as long as their privacy settings allow. It's best to check with your IT provider before crossing those streams. Um, there's a mobile version. Keep the chat going, and you're not in an email box when you just need to ask another team member or group a question. As we move forward, you'll see a pattern in these apps in regard to mobile versions that help make things easier for mobile work and working from home when necessary. Teams video conferencing. So this is probably a familiar view since COVID-19. We've been seeing this more and more. Um, we at RCR in IT, in technology, we've been utilizing these kinds of views for a while, but now it's definitely more of a broad view. So you can see that it has the same look and feel as Zoom. Obviously we're on a Zoom meeting today, WebEx, all those different things. It's all the same look and feel here, but Teams is easier for your staff to connect as you're using your organization's email address. You don't have to create a new account, set up a new profile, with your information, your pictures. It's all part of what you already have in Office 365. Again, this is a situation where you can connect with your inner team, or you can connect with organizations outside if they have Teams, if you're comfortable and privacy settings allow. It should also be noted that the backgrounds in Teams look better than in Zoom. Or if you don't want a background of yourself on the beach, you can simply blur the background so people can't see your messy office or your kids drawing on the walls of your dining room while you're trying to get work done. All right, so moving on to OneDrive. OneDrive is probably something that you've seen, probably something that has been downloaded on your computer. You don't even know how it got there, that kind of situation. You have different options here with OneDrive, the personal and then the business. And obviously today we're going to focus on the business, the blue cloud. The personal is the white cloud that'll show up in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. OneDrive has come a long way from the early days when it was called SkyDrive initially, if anybody remembers that. We at RCR have been using this since those days, since the SkyDrive days, and we've been very impressed with the improvements made as recently as the last year. So impressed that we've moved many of our clients from on-premise servers for file storage and file sharing to OneDrive, and we haven't looked back. We're looking at cloud-based file storage here, easy file sharing, obviously with users within your organization. Again, we talk about real-time collaboration, opening up those files and things and seeing who's in the document and who's making changes. Automatic file backup is something new that's come to OneDrive in the last year, and then file version history. Today we're going to focus on the automatic file backup and file version history that are really great to bring peace of mind to us and our clients. So, automatic file backup. As you can see, OneDrive is able to automatically back up the without you doing much. It's your document. People drop their files, they save their files to the desktop, they save their files, documents, that kind of thing. So if you save your documents to your desktop, which is never a good idea, but we still do it anyway, or any of the other 2 locations, your data automatically syncs with your OneDrive account. And by the way, you have 1 terabyte of storage per user on all 3 of the 365 packages that we showed earlier. That's a great deal of space. So this helps in the event of hardware failure. You're able to have a recent version of your data that you're able to sync with a new or a repaired device. So if your hard drive in your laptop goes out, you get a new hard drive in there, you get it going. If you simply just get a new PC, backing up your data is still important, but importing that data to a new device is much easier if all you have to do is sign in and log into your OneDrive account and let it sync. Those files just go back to where they were. This isn't a total replacement of managed backup service, but it's another layer of backup, and it makes things easier when you need to use it. This is a big one, OneDrive version history. And having talked to users, they really haven't seen this. This is not necessarily something that's in the forefront, but it's a major benefit. Data storage on OneDrive is far superior to previous methods of data storage in that you're able to look at different versions of your file. So in a scenario where you have multiple users making changes to one document, a user might make a mistake that could break a formula in Excel or delete necessary data unknowingly. If that isn't caught immediately, fixing the issue may be impossible. Accidental deletion is also common among shared files and folders. So with version history, you're able to see when a document was changed, who changed it, and you have the ability to restore to a previous version of the file before the mistake was made. In many cases, versions go several months back. So not only can you fix a mistake, but also be able to hold the user accountable for the error. Additionally, you're able to preview previous versions of the file before restoring it so that you can determine which version of the file needs to be restored. So if it's a lack of data in an Excel file, if it's a lack of, if a formula broke in Excel, you'll be able to preview that, see if that formula is working, see if you have the numbers that you need, then you hit that restore, and it literally restores in a matter of seconds. Again, this does not completely replace backup because multiple versions of files are always necessary, but it does make recovery much easier for you and your IT provider. So, a big topic of conversation, one of the oldest services for 365 for Microsoft is email, Outlook. When we talk about Outlook, we don't just talk about that mail client anymore, not just that piece of software that you downloaded years ago and you put all your email addresses into it and you have the folders now and it looks all professional. Outlook is a product and an application for Microsoft throughout. You can go to outlook.com and get a personal email. Outlook is the backbone when you log on to even get your business email, so that you have that same look and feel of that age-old Outlook program that manages all of your mail. So email is hugely important, obviously, in business, and so like the other apps that we've discussed, email is included with all of the Office 365 packages that we talked about. Many small businesses still use a free email service like Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, or even AOL. What these small businesses often don't know is that owning your own domain can be very affordable. A typical domain or .com has an average annual cost of $12 a year. So let's move on to the reasons to get professional email. Number one, free email is paid for by ads. Google is collecting data on you for the companies that have purchased ad space from them. Your email is essentially tracked, and therefore the contents within are tracked. So if you're talking to a team member about a product or a service that your company might need in the future, and then randomly see an ad for that product or service while you're scrolling through social media, it's not that random. I know it's eerie when that kind of thing happens, but by using free or ad paid email, you're allowing it to happen. Number two, you could lose access to your email if it's hacked. So if somebody hacks your email, the provider could shut it down. Also, if whoever hacked your email deleted all of your messages, they're gone. There isn't a lot of support to retrieve the data and could result in a complete loss of business sensitive information. Number three, user employee control. If an employee leaves the company for any reason, if they're using Gmail, that is technically their personal account. If it's under your company, you have full control over that user and all the emails and data within. If you're using file sharing, you can remove access to a user in one click. One click, and a former employee no longer has access to business sensitive information. That's better than trying to track down what files you shared with a Gmail account. Try to turn that off. Also, distribution groups and shared mailboxes are free. So we talk about $5 per user per month, $12.50 per user per month. Those are for your users that you use, but you don't have to pay for a contact at yourdomain.com, info at yourdomain.com, support at yourdomain.com. Those are free to be able to set up so that we can distribute and share mail amongst users on your account. Number four is more professional, not just in the way that it looks to other professionals, but also if they're receiving an email from a business they recognize, the person feels more comfortable opening the email. Spam email often comes from a Gmail, Yahoo, or other free email service. If you want a potential new client to open your email, you may want them to feel safe in doing so. Also, the sender doesn't get bounce backs if somebody has the email address that someone actually accidentally typed in. Let me give you, for instance. I recently sent an email to first initial last name at gmail.com. I saw that person the following week. He wondered why I didn't email him. I took out my phone, I used my Outlook app, went to the sent folder and showed him that I sent it. He told me that his email is actually first initial last name 95 at gmail.com. That email I sent is to another person who often gets his emails and forwards them to him. Well, they didn't forward the one I sent. So what if I were sending him business sensitive information? Would he have wanted that stranger to see the information and forward it on when they got to it? Probably not. Outlook Sync. We keep talking about this, but it's very, very relevant. Sync is a word frequently used when addressing Microsoft 365 products. Email is one of the first things that Microsoft was successful at syncing across all of your devices. Some people don't realize this, even if they have an Office 365 or Microsoft 365 email. Sync across all devices also means deletion across all devices, folders across all devices, flags, read and unread, replies, forwards, etc. If you read something on your phone, it's read on your app or on your browser. If you move an email to a particular folder, it's now in that folder from whatever device you check your email with. Not all business email is created equal. If you're getting email, even with your domain from another provider, like Bluehost, DreamHost, HostGator, HostMonster, Squarespace, Wix, or even GoDaddy, it's possible that you're still using a POP or IMAP style email, which is not reliable, not secure, and simply an antiquated form of email that's been replaced for years now. Microsoft 365 is not the only email service that actively syncs your email, but it's our opinion that it is the best at that function. Outlook everywhere. This kind of is the same thing. I've kind of already said this, but I feel like it's worth mentioning specifically. You can access your email from any device that has an internet connection. The list here is just a short list of ways to access your email anytime. Browser, Outlook app, Outlook mobile app. And one of the cool things about this too is that you can install Outlook in Chrome or Edge for free. It's a pretty simple setup, something that Jordan really likes and uses with all of his devices. You can open up Outlook in your browser. You just go to log in with your Microsoft login. There's a plus sign at the top of Chrome or Edge that you can install Outlook, and then it comes up as a desktop icon, so that you can click that desktop icon and it opens up your Outlook. That's separately of your Outlook desktop application. That's separately of your browser. It's just a specific window through your browser that's just for your email. It's very snappy. It has all the features within your email. It's just something that's a really cool added feature for browsers, and it makes it easy for you to get to your email. But the idea for Outlook Everywhere is that it literally is everywhere. So you could literally be thrown into the ocean with your phone and your laptop bag and use another computer with a secure internet connection and find your email just as you left it. Folders, contacts, read and unread emails, all in the same place. So if you really need to reply to an email and just can't wait, you have a lot of options to be able to send secure professional email. So the second to last thing that we're going to discuss today is Microsoft To-Do. It's one of the newest additions to the 365 product list. Microsoft To-Do is a task manager. It keeps you organized across all your devices. You can add to a list with your voice. You can share your list with your team members. I just noticed a spelling error, my bad. So I hope you're not surprised to find out at this point that this app works across all of your devices. This app is especially useful in that regard, though. Having the ability to create tasks that you can add and check off on the go is a priceless feature when you're trying to be efficient. And who doesn't want to improve their efficiency, especially in business? Here are a few views of Microsoft To Do. You can see the different lists and things that you can make. So you can share lists and collaborate with your team, which is a huge deal. If it's one or two people that need to collaborate on a list of things that need to be done, if it's 15, 20, 25, 50, the list goes on. You can make lists for specific projects that you're working on and add those team members as you need to. You can create a grocery list. That may not be business related, but it sure is helpful. You can take different tasks from different lists and add them to your day. So there's nothing more satisfying than creating a list in the morning and being able to check off every box before you leave from work for the day. So I personally use Microsoft To Do to create a list of things to talk about on today's webinar. I added things while I was sitting at my desk. I added things on my phone with my voice while I was driving. I checked those boxes as I added them to the PowerPoint. This is a simple list. It's nothing super complex, but the functionality is very, very high, and the usability is easy, and the syncing is immediate. And it's definitely a very, very good addition to Office 365, Microsoft 365 products, and I hope they keep it around. So it wouldn't be a technology webinar without a little talk about cybersecurity. Among all of the tips and tricks mentioned today, the backbone of Microsoft 365 is security. We're talking about professional mail filtering, blacklist and whitelist. And if you don't know what that means, basically, if you blacklisting would be if you're getting unwanted email from a particular domain, from a particular company, from a particular user, you can blacklist that user, that domain, and say, I don't want to receive correspondence from these people anymore. It's a higher level of what can be done on just a free email service. It's more specific, and it's a tighter lockdown. And then, of course, you can whitelist as well. And this is very important. And this is whitelisting is definitely not a high function for a Gmail or Yahoo email, meaning that you want to receive email from a particular company, but maybe that company is um, sending you email from a Gmail account or something like that. And Microsoft is right away saying, no, this isn't good. This looks like spam. We're gonna put it into junk. Well, you can say, oh, this is okay. You whitelist that. You whitelist that user, and they're able to pass you email back and forth. Two-factor authentication is a major thing. We're going to see this more and more um, across a ton of your accounts, um, across many devices. Two-factor authentication is going to become standard very soon. We're going to see this. Some of us have already seen it in our banking logins. Some of us have already seen it in just getting into professional websites, things like that. And now we're going to start seeing this in your Ring doorbells, your Google Home Minis. These home automation devices are going to come out of box requiring two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication, put simply, is, of course, you have your password that you have set and that you should change frequently, but it's your password. That's what you know. The second factor to this authentication is a randomly generated key that happens at basically the moment of your login that you also have to enter after your password to verify or authenticate you as a user getting into that account, getting into that device. That means that there's a very short window of time where you can be hacked. That device can be hacked. Your account can be hacked. It's a shorter window of time. It helps out immensely in a world where there are tons of cyber threats out there. There are a million reasons to protect your data that's out there, your social security number, your credit card information. There are so many reasons to protect that data. This is one way and a major way to be able to protect, being able to, protect me from being hacked. And then HIPAA and PCI compliance. So we mentioned that previously, and PCI compliance is more broad. PCI compliance is more outstretched in more businesses, where HIPAA is obviously specific to that industry and keeping that information private. It's very important. But sending that electronically, sending transmissions electronically from one organization to another, you need to have the ability to encrypt that data because in that transmission, that information could be compromised. And it's important for these organizations, for any organization, to make sure that this data is kept safe, because you don't want to be the business that is uh, the party responsible for the information being leaked. So it's important for your business and your clients to feel secure. It's important that your business is running as efficiently as possible. Microsoft 365 is a primary solution to those areas of your business. It's also important to use caution when emailing or sharing any business sensitive information. Starting with a solid foundation for those functions is important. That's Microsoft 365. RCR Technology Group is a reseller and users of Microsoft products, and hopefully after hearing me talk about these products today, we're pretty proficient in their functionality. So we can help guide your business into the product that best fits your needs and helps you along the path of efficiency and security in your business technology. Thanks so much for your time today.
Well, thank you, Kevin. We do appreciate that. We're going to do question and answer session right now, and Kevin and Jordan will hop in with the answers to some of the questions. We do. If you have any questions that you've been thinking about, want to put those in the chat window, go ahead and do that now, or you can do the Q&A. The first one we got back when we were talking about Microsoft Teams. Mark wants to know, when you're in that view, how do you get all the faces? He says one thing's when they use Teams, it'll show 4 faces, and then the rest of the team will be in circles on the bottom right-hand corner. So I don't know if Kevin or Jordan, if you know how to change that setting.
Well, a big thing with this is the size of your monitor. So it's going to automatically adjust to that kind of size to begin with. But yes, there are different grid views and things like that to explore, and there's not I can't share my screen right now for that, but if we have Mark's email, I've got a link I can probably send him to be able to mess around with those Teams views.
Gotcha. So we'll make sure to take care of
that.
that. Jordan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I was just saying it's a newer update that was to Teams. They were working on this before everybody started working from home and virtually to get a much larger view so you can have up to 9 participants on your screen. And they've kind of slowly rolled that out. So there is that possibility. You just don't have that update to the app yet, or it hasn't hit you yet. But that was something that was just very recently added at the beginning of May here.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Kevin. And again, if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the panel. Suzette says that they currently use this product. Do they need to download the To-Do app on their phone in order to have the ability to use it remotely?
Yes, yeah, and it's available from just your regular app store, whether iPhone or Android.
Very nice. Looks like we've got a question in the Q&A section here. Jen wants to know if you already have a domain and related email through DreamHost and you supply domain-based emails to many sub-parties, can we still switch our local office to Outlook without disrupting the sub-parties?
Yes, in most cases that's possible. Obviously, we have to do a little bit of digging into how those things are set up initially for the smoothest possible transition. But the answer is absolutely yes.
Very good. I do have, and I have a couple other questions here that I just jotted down during this, and feel free to throw some more questions out there on the chat while you're watching. We did get one other Q&A when I handled this one online. They want to know if there was Wi-Fi in the middle of the ocean, and if so, what ocean? I've heard good things about the Pacific Ocean and their Wi-Fi, so I would try that. Would you? I noticed when you were talking about when you were talking about Outlook. The slide showed the Outlook app. Would you suggest using the Outlook app over forwarding or having your email come through whatever your default email program is on your phone?
100%. It manages your email the best, and it has a very similar view to what you're seeing on your desktop. So you want to be able to have that same sort of view from all your devices as well. Outlook provides the best basically synchronization of all of those views, and it handles Microsoft 365 email the best in that regard. We've had issues in the past with your baked in email apps for Android and for iPhone. They work 90% of the time, but there's that 10% that for some reason they crash, they stop syncing for whatever reason. So yeah, we most definitely recommend the Outlook app specifically.
All right, then I have a task to add to my to-do list here when we're done. So I'll have to get that installed and switch that over. And one last question I wrote down, and it's a little bit more on the technical side. But you mentioned when you sign up through a website through GoDaddy or Wix or what have you, a lot of times they're giving you a pop email address. I've set up a few websites in the past. It's been a while, probably when that was more prevalent. What is the process of setting up the Microsoft to handle your email over just setting up that POPI or IMAP email address?
Well, what it really boils down to is a couple of things that are, it's a little bit more of techie talk, and it's definitely things that happen in the back end, but name servers and DNS records, domain name server records. It basically, these things point your domain to use different functions. So automatically, when you set these things up through GoDaddy or Squarespace, whatever the situation may be, your name servers are automatically pointed to, where your website is hosted, and that's what's handling your MX records, or what are called mail exchange records. And so you can go into those DNS records, domain name server records, and point those to Microsoft 365. And then that handles your mail exchange records. So you can keep your website where it is, or you can bring your website to a different hosting or whatever. All of those records can be changed so that you can have your website where you want it, and you can have your email in a professional email. You can have your email doing better than just POP or IMAP, with just a few records to put in there.
So bottom line, pretty easy for someone who knows what they're doing to set up.
Most definitely.
Excellent. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions right now. Again, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Kevin or Jordan. If you would think of those questions after we get done here, send them an email. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you out. Kevin and Jordan, thanks so much for taking part in this today.
Yeah, thank you for having us, to you and the rest of the Hancock County Chamber. Appreciate it.
And
thanks to everybody.
You're welcome. And if you want to go back and review any of this, we are recording the webinar. We'll have that up on our YouTube channel by the end of the day at the Findlay-Hancock County Chamber page. So make sure to check that out. We also have a lot of other resources regarding small businesses, COVID-19 operations, and everything else on the YouTube channel. So you can make sure to subscribe to that and get all the latest information that way as well. Thank you all for coming today. And again, check our website. We have some more webinars coming up in the next couple of weeks. You can see all the details about that there. And with that, we'll call it a day. Thank you very much.